Being competitive is not enough. Welcome to Tea at Taxevity, where you get insights from insiders, our many clients and friends. I'm Pramod Sharma, the actuary at Taxevity. I help people who care about sustainable financial independence harness the power of life and health insurance. Our guest today is Tim Pervin. Tim, what do you do when you're not being interviewed?
I own a consulting practice, and I work with small and medium-sized companies around their strategies and their processes.
You were a guest earlier. You were, in fact, our second guest ever, and you gave us some very good feedback that helped us improve our processes. I wanted to thank you for all you've done for us.
Yeah, pleasure.
You were also working on a law degree at the time.
Yes, I completed my Master of Law in International Business. And what it allowed me to do was work with my clients across a much wider band of areas, such as cross-border tax, risk management, governance, IP, and a number of other areas.
What happens from your course? Because you wouldn't necessarily be an expert in those areas. How did you benefit?
Well, what having this law degree enabled me to do is to ask better questions and work with my clients to examine some of the issues that were happening in their businesses from more than a purely singular consulting issue. This meant that when I could look at the business, I could empathize with them. I could sit in their shoes and see how the action of one particular area, such as selling in a different country, might influence what was happening domestically, and all the other pieces that have to be examined, again, to be better at what they're doing and with their competition.
How can businesses become more competitive these days?
I go back to outwitting the competition being a catchword for really looking at where their opportunities are. You never have enough information. And in pulling this information together, it has to be based upon some sort of planning process. Because the more specific data you have about where your competitors are, where the markets are, the changing, the fluctuation in the dollar, any number of various items that will get in the way of success, will help you just have that little bit more of an edge.
Mm-hmm. Now, businesses have pain points also. How do you help in that area?
Well, pain points generally are the areas that the business or the owner feels at a point in time, which may have nothing to do with what's causing the pain.
Okay, can you give us an example?
An example might be my sales are not where I want them to be. The plan was to get to 10 million. I'm only at 8. Why is this not happening? And so that really is the pain point. The reality might well be the sales manager is not doing what he needs to do. Or you have the wrong people in place to deliver the sales, or any number of other variables. All these things have to be teased out in a discussion or in an investigation to allow the owner to appreciate the positive parts of what they have in their business, and also to assess where they have to make some changes.
Because a business could be on track from going from point A to point B, but maybe they should really be aiming for a point C, which is much more of a stretch.
But it's not always a stretch. And again, going back to your example of A to B to C, A to B generally is easy because you know where you want to go. You know where that next year is going to be, the next 2 years is going to be. C is that wonderful dream you have. And the dream can be anything from, I want to double my size in 2 years, or I want to build the business to a stage where somebody with an awful lot of money is going to buy me out and I'm going to retire. Or it can be, I have a new opportunity I want to bring to market, but I'm not quite sure how it's going to get to market after I get it manufactured. Any number of these things and more, and it's just an example.
When you're going from B to C, it sounds like the organization might need advisors.
Um, the answer is yes. From a self-serving point of view, the answer is yes. But in reality, from the owner's point of view, certainly they might be the smartest person in the room in their particular segment. But as they move ahead, if they are looking for ways to, again, I use the term with the competition, they need more knowledge. And most companies in this size area can't afford the subject matter experts that are working in large organizations. And there are people out there who are advisors who can help companies. And really the magic part is finding the right array of individuals to give you the advice that are going to help you move your business ahead.
What kind of advisors might a company need?
They follow, really, the starting point is what is the nature of the company. If it is a service company, it would be different from a light manufacturing, different from a, let's say, a not-for-profit organization, which also is a company.
Okay, fair enough.
Let's sort of take the example of a service company. Some of the areas where the owner may not have the expertise is in finance. They may not have the expertise in international marketing. They may not have the expertise in human resources. And there may be a number of different areas where they're looking for very specific inputs. Now, the benefit of having an advisor is that she or he will be able to bring a large-scale best practices set of steps and advice to the organization to have that data assimilated into a new plan that's going to move the company ahead.
It sounds like some of these advisors could actually be internal to the organization already.
They could be. And again, the starting point is working with an individual, such as myself, to sit down and try to help you figure out, what do you want to do? I mean, how do you see yourself moving, into your example before, from B to C? What are some of the steps? What are the governance needs? What are the risks? What are the SWOT issues that you're going to have to appreciate to make it happen? And with that in place and having answers in general terms to those questions, go out and look for people who can advise you. Now, what I generally tell my clients is that if you're looking for someone to do it for free, you're not going to necessarily going to get the answer you need to have. Getting advisors, getting good advisors, you have to pay them. But you're not putting them on salary. They're not on the payroll. You're buying their time for a couple of days a year. You're being very specific in the questions you're asking them. And what you have to ensure is that the advice that they give to you is going to be properly processed. And even more importantly, that you, at the beginning of the process, have a good idea of what you want from these people. Because if you ask them the wrong questions, you're not necessarily going to get the right answers. And I'll give you an example. When I was involved in the mining business, I had to deal with a lot of lawyers. And one of the issues I found was that I would ask questions, I'd get an answer, I'd look at the answer and say, this isn't necessarily what I was looking for. And I think going back to your first question about going back to law school, it allowed me to ask better questions. So I became very focused in asking the questions that would allow me to set a direction that was important. And so what I do is I share this whole concept with clients for them to be very specific about the questions they're going to ask, so they have enough information to become highly competitive.
Yeah, it does make a lot of sense to know something about the area, because you can't ask the right questions unless you have some expertise yourself.
The answer is yes. And I guess the types of clients that I work with and the types of clients who have engaged me tend to be in the service business, light manufacturing, some not-for-profit, And I touched on before the whole mining area.
Mm-hmm. What are the characteristics of an ideal advisor?
The ideal advisor generally is a subject matter expert.
Okay.
And I say she, he because it is important not to sort of go back on the old stereotypes of who has the best answer. There are all sorts of people out there that you can find through associations, you can find through networking, that you can find through any number of ways, who are more than happy to sell their time to help companies move ahead.
And I gather a brother-in-law is not necessarily the best choice.
It can be very costly because you can't fire your brother-in-law. Chances are that might end your marriage. But in reality, like anything else, you get what you pay for.
Mm-hmm. And it sounds like you're talking about people that might be too expensive to employ on a full-time basis anyway.
Generally, and I think I referenced that before, most of the people that are advisors work with a number of different companies. And they are mature individuals who have a track record that is easily traceable. And the objective that the owner-operator has to put in place is, how do I take the information from the salesperson, and how does that work together with the information from the human resource person, and how is the finance person going to make this all come into being, and do I like the answer I'm hearing anyhow? Now, one of the advantages with advisors is that from the business owner is you can take the advice and you don't have to listen. I mean, it's a waste of your money, but you don't have to listen.
Okay.
It's more difficult when you have all these employees around on the payroll, where it's going to be a costly process to ignore their advice, because they will leave you.
What's your key message for the people watching today?
I feel from a business point of view, most small and medium-sized companies have wonderful opportunities. Many of the owners bring their own fears and risks into the equation. At times, they need a second set of eyes to help them through that process, to help them appreciate that they really are pretty smart. I mean, the answer's in the room. They just need somebody to help them to tease out that answer, to then take that answer and help to frame it into some sort of cohesive strategy, which then visually can be represented in a roadmap, so that there are milestones in place to know how well they're succeeding at any point in time.
What's the best way for people to reach you?
Well, my company is the Pervin Group. My email address is tpervin@thepervingroup.com. I'm easily accessible at 416-934-5161. And look me up on LinkedIn, or take a look at my website at thepervingroup.com.
Thanks very much for dropping by.
Great. Thanks for the time.
Thanks for joining us for Tea at Taxevity. The Taxevity Insurance Advisory helps you understand insurance and bridges gaps in your coverage. There's no premium for peace of mind. How healthy is your insurance?